is that really going to stop that? I don't know. 843, you're on with me. Talk to me.
Hey, my brother, this is Rome from New York. How you been, brother?
What is going on, Rome? I'm glad to have you on
Hey,
here
so I'm
tonight,
like the
man.
15% of your male audience, so
Yeah, we like that, man.
I know, I know.
Appreciate you,
Hey,
brother.
just three quick things just to clarify for people that either might be confused or haven't heard a little bit. And then I wanted to get see if you wanted a little bit of law enforcement perspective. But the noise in the beginning of the interview with Jen that sounded like the parrot. For anyone that didn't hear or understand it, from what we understand, it sounds to be the automatic pet dispenser for like a dog. And we know that because she knew when it was going to be done and complete. So she said, okay, that should be it. So it's sort of like an alarm or a timer for feeding your pet. So just to get that out of the way for anyone that didn't understand or was confused. The second, because I've been making some notes here while I'm listening to you. The second thing I have here is, you know how Disney's denying that he worked for Disney?
Yes, sir.
There's chatter that he worked for Epcot. So they might be able to say, well, it's not Disney, it's Epcot. So just so people, maybe get that out of their mind, that it might be Epcot versus Disney. And then a little while ago, you posted the picture of what looks like the mom's vehicle, the white vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't really dig into it too much, and I think some of your listeners might want a little bit of clarity to what you were posting about the white vehicle being parked at what's said to be her sister's house. So remember, Stephan, I guess that's how we say it, Stephan or Stephen, but Stephan was driving his silver vehicle the morning that he hit the body. Mm-hmm. And this white vehicle is Jen's car, and you'll see that it looks like evidence tape across the doors, they would have sealed that. Yeah, so they would have sealed that to be sure that, until it was completely searched and evidence was collected, that nobody would have entered that car. So before it would have been released to her, they would have put the tape on it after they went through it. And then when they released it to her, they would say, okay, here's your vehicle back. You can use it. And then she would have been able to open the doors to break the seal.
I'm going to clarify the car for just real quick as far as what I was sent and only what it said. So this is all I know about this vehicle, which is Jen Soto's allegedly. Supposedly, this was emailed to me. Supposedly, this is the mother's car parked at her sister's house. Dumbass still has red tape on it.
Right.
That was all that email said.
Yeah. So what the chatter is that for whatever reason, and we could speculate about why her car would have needed to have been searched. Okay, there's all, we could speculate about all the trafficking or other issues that could be out there for her vehicle. But at some point during the investigation, they felt that they needed to search her vehicle. So that's why the evidence tape would have been placed over the doors to make sure that nobody would have entered that car until it was released back to the registered owner. Follow?
Yes, sir.
So I don't know if that vehicle was searched where it's currently located, because I don't know who's taking these pictures, who might be following these people around. There could be PI, there could be, news agencies. There could be a lot of people that are trying to be the sleuths and trying to figure things out. So depending on where that vehicle had been over the last, let's say, week, all right, the crime scene investigators would have searched that vehicle, taken fingerprints, collected hairs, or whatever they were looking for in regards to that vehicle. So I don't know a whole lot about the who, what, and where of that situation, but just to help your listeners with why you were posting what you were posting, and to clarify that wasn't his vehicle that was used the day, that Madeline was, deceased. So somehow they believe that car could be involved in this crime or in another, for other reasons.
So what's the red tape for? A lot of people want to know what the
so like I said, that's to seal the door so that to make sure no one can go in there. It's basically like at the crime scene, you see the yellow crime scene tape. So basically it's saying this vehicle needs to be searched. So they would have put the evidence sticker across the doors to make sure that they could see when the seal was broken. So until that vehicle was released to the registered owner, nobody should have been entering that vehicle to preserve evidence.
Mm.
Understood? Is that cool?
Yeah, that's
Okay. Now, if I could just bring up the interview, we would have to listen to it again, but I don't recall if it was Jen or Stephan that said we, and paraphrasing, we organized this interview, or if the TV station organized the interview, and that would be critical, and I'll tell you why. So did Soto and Jen and Stephan, did they say, hey, our daughter's missing, let's get the news involved so we can get the word out? Or did the news show up and say, hey, would you guys like to do an interview? And that's not 100% clear, but I'll tell you why it's important and critical. I believe, based on my training and experience, I believe that the sheriff's office sent the news to the home to do a casual, comfortable sort of interview so that they could observe, okay? They could listen and observe to people who were potential suspects at that time. Now, of course, you're not going to say you're a suspect because they want to see what's going on. They want to watch you and listen to you. So these two people, Stephan and Jen, didn't even realize that they were potentially suspects at the time. The news station was sent to get an interview so that the police could continue their investigation and use that to look at the body, mannerisms and the statements. Does that sound pretty clear?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, in the interview, you'll see that the interviewer said, now I know you had conversations with detectives, and then he kind of caught himself and realized, I don't want to tip them off and make them uncomfortable. He said, but I don't know what, or what, paraphrasing, I don't know what they said. I don't know what that was about. But in essence, he said, I know you had interviews with detectives. So that's what also leads me to believe that the news crews were sent to get as much information comfortably as possible so that they knew that they weren't in custody and it was a casual interview, not realizing that the interview could be used as evidence as well. Now, I am not a body mannerisms expert. The body, the panel was... yeah, I was prior law enforcement.
Okay,
yeah.
so we do have prior law enforcement on the phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind? I mean, what state?
I was NYPD in Florida for about 7 years total.
Okay, so you were.
So I'm not an expert, but I've seen enough. Yeah,
you know law in Florida. Okay.
I do know both. Correct.
Let me ask you a question then, since you were law enforcement in Florida before. Do you think that mom is a prime suspect or a person of interest at all in this case?
I certainly believe she is a person of interest. That's certainly clear. My personal opinion would be that she has information. I would be speculating to say that I think that she could be involved somehow. But I personally believe that she has information on what happened, and based on your prior shows as to why, well, her inconsistent statements, her body movements, all that stuff that's already been made clear to your listeners.
Yes, sir.
But in that interview, and again, I'm not an expert in this at all, but when people say, and they're giving you a sentence, right? They're giving you a sentence, they're answering a question, and like she did, at the very end, she'll say, so, yeah, or, and, yeah, or, but, yeah. Those are critical. Why? Because you're about to continue saying something. You're about to continue along a certain set of facts. When you say, so, usually you answer something. You say, so that's why I went there, or, and this is what happened, or, but I didn't realize. Okay, that's how you would sort of finish the sentence. But when you say, so, yeah, and that's it, or, and, yeah, or, but, yeah, it's like you're knowing that there's more information, but you're stopping yourself from giving that information because you're either getting lost or you're realizing you might reveal something. And as good as that panel is, of those four guys were outstanding. I was surprised that they didn't hit on that one sentence, because to me that is critical. When you start a sentence, say but, and you just end it quickly with yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then in the interview, they brought up the arguments. They said, what was your last conversation with her? And I think that's a critical section of the interview again, is what was your last conversation? And she was thinking for a second, and then she happily and confidently was able to realize, oh, wait, the birthday party, and zoned in on, we spoke about the birthday party, you know, trying to make you believe and make it confident that, oh, we spoke about that. I have some doubts about that section. But in that interview, they talked about what was your, like, sort of arguments. I don't recall. I'd have to watch it again about the arguments. Did you ever have any arguments? And from what I'm reading and the chatter I'm seeing is, I think that the relationship between the mom and the daughter was sort of strained. I think that they did argue more than is said, and she had to sort of keep it as if they don't. And even Stephan in one of the interviews said she's a happy girl. She brings us joy. And when he said she brings us joy, I said to myself, I think he meant she brings us tension. She brings us stress. I think there's a stressful aspect to that. Last two things I'll hit on for it, and I'll let you go, is some people are saying, why did they cremate? And if this is true, we don't know 100% if the body was cremated, but why would they have cremated her body? Again, just remember, about 5 days in Florida, heat, in the woods. Use your imagination. It would not be the right scenario for anything other than a cremation, is my suspicion. The press conference, remember this, the police do not have to come out and speak to the public. You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Right. Nobody told Chief Mina, who was the Sheriff Mina, he used to be the chief of Orlando, Sheriff Mina, no one said that Sheriff Mina had to come out that day and give a press conference and give up a lot of information. He gave up a lot of information that I'm not usually used to the police doing. And the reason why I say this is police give out only what they want to give out. They don't have to give out everything until the case is more developed or over, really. They don't have to come out and tell the public anything. They give out disinfo, okay? There's misinfo and there's disinfo, okay? Misinformation is when you misunderstood something, but you repeated it. Disinformation is more of intentional. I'm going to intentionally misinform. That's the difference between misinformation, sort of like a mistake, and then disinformation is more of intentional. So they know more than they're going to tell you. They give you little pieces at a time. But remember, it's not necessarily just for public consumption. It's also for the suspects. It's also for the people of interest. So whatever they're giving you, it's not so that we can hear it and understand and be like, okay, now we get it. It's more that to see what the next move of the suspect or person of interest is going to be. It's like almost like playing chess. You make a move, I make a move. You make a move, I make a move. And towards the end of the game, you have less moves to make. So the departments are going to give out information that they want to give out to see what the next move of the suspect or people of interest are going to be. Last two things, I know I said that before, but last two things.
No, you're good. You're good. I like hearing your perspective, man.
Okay.
On point.
All right. Listen, when Sheriff Mina came out and said that we're transferring the case to Kissimmee because, and I forget, we'd have to watch it again, but he said something to the effect of, we believe, I think he said the murder happened in Kissimmee. I think that's kind of how it was phrased. We'd have to kind of do a timestamp on that and watch Sheriff Mina again. But
exactly.
In essence, he said we're switching it to Kissimmee because we believe the murder happened in Kissimmee. Okay, then why were they involved originally? All right, so originally the 911 call came in from the home location, which I guess would be located within the Orange County area, but some of this happened in Kissimmee. So we'd have to listen to that again to get that locked down. But I think that that's of interest as to why there's two agencies that were or are still involved in it. And then just in regards specific to the case, when they say he returned home, I think we all need to question, what does that mean? Okay, so where did this occur initially? And why would he have driven with Madeline in the car back to the location? That's just something that we need to kind of like filter out and really figure out, why would someone do that? And then again, the words picked up, when Jen says he picked her up, that means that he wasn't staying in that home either that night, or they had broken up and just back and forth. So maybe he was staying at a different location and then came to the home. That's very confusing to me. I still haven't figured out what that all means with regards to why Stephan would have had to pick her up as opposed to just wake up in the morning and take her to school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or why he would have been driving with her and then returned home after the tag reader found his vehicle near the school. I think that was near, around 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
The dumpster, which is like 7:35 a.m. With the laptop in the backpack, and then the 8:19 area with the tag reader. So that's very confusing. But again, it could be intentionally confusing because it's not made for our consumption. It's made to make the suspects or the people of interest make a move. Just in regards to their relationships, it seems like they both have issues. So if you think about Stephan, his self-esteem is probably not the best based on the description that we read in the affidavit regarding his man parts. Okay, so he probably has had difficulty in relationships, and he found this relationship and was able to hold it from what they say is like 7 years because he found someone that was sort of like him in the sense that her self-esteem wasn't so good based on her medications potentially, and other things in her life. So it was like two people that were not confident in themselves and, didn't have high self-esteem. They both kind of found each other, and that's potentially why things lasted as long as they did. Very last thing is the birthday party. Why was it planned? Okay, so her birthday was the 22nd. They did the birthday on the 25th on Sunday. You know what your work schedule is, and your other listeners have mentioned it before. Why would you plan it to be on a day that you're working? And even if you had to work, like you said earlier, you call in sick. So those are my last final thoughts. And then she said, I couldn't make it. I think as a parent, you would say, I couldn't be there, because we always want to be there for our family, not make it, right? I couldn't make it to my doctor's appointment, but I couldn't be there for my child. So that's all I got.
Now, do you think that this child ring that they busted is connected with Stephan Sterns? Do you think it's
so that's the James and Henry Cox case that has they call him Santa Guy. I see that it is close to the area, but again, it would be speculation to say it's related. But like your other listeners have said, over the past few years, there's been a lot of a lot of this stuff going around. So it's potential, but I wouldn't say specifically that's related. Now, somebody is saying that house for James and Henry Cox, the one with the Santa, with the blue house in St. Cloud, it's sort of on the way from Stephan and Jen's home in the Venetian Bay and towards where the body was located. So that could, and again, we'd be speculating, but it could fill in the piece of why would Stephan have returned home? Is it possible, and again, just throwing it out there, is it possible that if it's related to this other case in St. Cloud, is it possible that he brought Madeline to sort of visit at that other house?
Right.
For if it's connected. I don't want to go into further details, but if it's connected, is it possible that he brought Madeline there for a visit? Okay. The other thing is, Sheriff Mina said, we believe Stephan moved the body in the early hours that morning. So that's another sort of clue that's like early hours. Okay. Is that 7:30 when we see when we have some of the video evidence? Or, could this have happened overnight, Sunday into Monday, and early hours means more like 2, 3, 4 in the morning? So again, that's not clear. And again, it may not be clear intentionally.
Yeah, I can get that.
Yeah.
They're not going to, show their hand. I know that. And
exactly.
I think they're going through, like, because I'm speculating in my head, and maybe you've heard me say this already, but I'm speculating that not only are they going through mom's phone records,
Mm-hmm.
checking CCTV footage with
Mm-hmm.
officers sitting around the desk probably right now, falling asleep,
Mm-hmm.
drinking coffee,
Mm-hmm.
looking to see if
Mm-hmm.
they see anything out of place. I think that's what's going on right now behind the scenes as they try to uncover if either mom or they
Right.
probably maybe already know she was involved, or they're trying to find out if
Right.
she was involved. And that's
Right.
why there's no charges day 9. As a Florida officer, what are your what's your thought process as and retired, right? Are you retired?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been at 8 years now.
Okay, so you've been out 8 years now. So as a former Florida officer, and do you think what do you think about that being 9 days with no arrest, not even towards Stephan Sterns? What are your
Well,
thoughts
uh,
processing on that? Like, what are your thoughts on
right.
that? Drop it to me. Let me hear it.
Again, we only know what they want us to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even the word leaked, these documents get leaked, these photos get leaked. We only know what they want us to know. Think
Yeah.
about it. If you are working a case like this, you are going to have the very specific officers that are authorized to do certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and the information is only going to go through certain doors. So if a door opens, who opened the door, right?
Right.
So we only go through the doors that are allowed to be open for us. So don't know exactly what that would mean in this case, but I would say, based on my training and experience, I would say that they know everything already, but they're not going to let us know, because whether Jen is already in custody
Mm.
or potentially in custody, they want to release and have her hear things that may affect what she does next. And if she has an attorney or whatever, she's still going to hear the news. So until they are ready to have someone make another move, they may not make a move for a little bit. And that's what the autopsy reports, that may be ready and available, but just not released yet. And for whatever reasons that they have, because of suspects, people of interest, whether it does get bigger into the rings, we don't know. That's speculation. However, again, I guess the biggest point of this whole conversation could be we're only going to know, and we only know whatever they want us to know. So when Sheriff Mina went out, and everything he has said was intentional and for a purpose. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes plenty of sense. Makes plenty of
Yeah.
sense. Logical for me. Like when I just from picking up and watching investigation shows since I was young, I can picture what's going on behind the scenes right now. Them waiting for certain records to come through to connect certain
Right.
dots, and
Right.
some people don't understand that you can't just unfold it all overnight. In
Mhm.
some cases you'll see
Mhm.
stuff happen so fast, but then some cases like this, they may
Right.
be waiting for phone records from a company like AT&T. They subpoenaed and it whatever it may be. There's
Right.
a lot of stuff
Right.
going on behind the scenes. You can bet your ass that.
Mhm. Well, and don't forget, uh, he tried to get rid of evidence with the factory reset and all that kind of stuff. Don't forget, the vehicles will have their own navigation systems that will have said where these cars were. So whether the mother was involved with that white car, they'll be able to know where that car was. They'll be able to know where Stephan's car was.
Oh shit!
Um,
I just thought of
yeah,
something.
don't forget, and yeah, and go ahead.
No, this I just thought of something. He threw away her laptop, right?
Well, it was in the dumpster with the backpack. Yeah,
Why? Why get rid of her laptop? What's on that
yeah,
laptop?
because well,
What's on that hard
I don't
drive?
think that. Well, I don't think he would have used her school laptop for that. That's my gut instinct.
You know what I mean? Like, I
But I
wonder if
do
he
think,
wrote something in there, or you know what I mean? Like,
mm,
what's he discarding it for? What are we discarding the book? But you could have just left the book bag at home, right?
well, no. My question more would be, why didn't he just leave the book bag and the laptop with her in the woods? Like that would have made more sense. Because if someone did kidnap her or do something else, wouldn't that have been connected to her if she walked away to school and got kidnapped? So him discarding that separately, my belief would be that he thought there could be a GPS or tracking in the laptop. So he didn't want that showing where he was, driving that day.
Mm-hmm.
So does that make sense to you? Like, why would you, if a kid gets kidnapped going to school, they would have had their backpack on. So why don't they have the backpack
Bing
on now,
bang.
right?
Yes, sir.
Why would he? Yeah, why would he separate the laptop and backpack
Hmm.
from her?
That's true too.
Unless, yeah, unless obviously he's not the smartest guy in the world, but I think it could have been the laptop reason is he thought that it could have had tracking in it, and that could have tracked him.
Hmm.
And the last thing I'll say is, what about the tip? Allegedly, again, we only know what we're told, and we're told for a reason. Why are we being told that there was a tip that someone saw him changing his tire? I think that there's more to that as well, and trying to think through that. Okay, just do like a mental exercise. What are the possibilities? What does that mean? So he was on the side of the road changing his tire. Someone drove by. Okay, didn't think anything of it at the time, and then the press conference comes out, says we found the body, and then someone calls in the tip.
Hmm.
Or is it possible that even someone stopped, on the side of the road and said, "Hey, buddy, you okay? You need help?" Actually could have had a verbal conversation with him.
Hmm.
Okay, so again, just thinking through that, but to me, that's a piece that's still sort of not filled in. Although you'll see the surveillance video does have I guess we call it the donut or the spare tire on the car. So some people have speculated that maybe he pretended or said, "Oh yeah, I stopped by this area because I had to change my tire." But to me, based on the video evidence, it looks like he actually did get a flat tire and actually did have to do that. Now, whether that happened because, he did something, went off road somewhere, or did that, backed into the woods and ran over something. Again, those are pieces that we don't know, but we know what we know
Hmm.
because we're supposed to know. You get it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We know what we know
Do
because
you
we're
have
supposed to
any?
know, and we don't know the other shit because we're not supposed to know it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because we're not supposed to know yet, but you can end it with, but they know.
But they know it,
They
and it's a
know,
fact. Yeah, they know. They
right?
know they're connecting those dots. And they're probably, I don't know. Somebody said they're waiting on a grand jury indictment for Stephan Sterns, but I don't know.
Well, and that would be for what was found in the cell phone data, because that's the original arrest affidavit. Now they're going to do enhanced charges or other charges based on whatever the other part of the investigation, pans out to be. Do you have any questions, or can you think of any other questions that your audience, your listeners, could be thinking themselves that maybe I could help answer at all?
I think you covered all bases.
Yeah.
To be
Okay. Because
honest
I
with
was taking notes, and I'm like, this is all the stuff that I was kind of wondering
you.
when I was first listening to
Let's
all
touch up
this.
on this as I see some new people coming in again. Do you want to explain what this red evidence tape is here on Jen Soto's car for the people that are
Right.
just coming in?
Right.
What is
So
this
that's
red tape as an officer? Let them know.
okay. So that's evidence tape. So you would put that across. You see how it's across the door jamb, right? So it would show if someone were to break the seal. So if someone were to open that car, you would see that the evidence tape was broken, and you would know that the car was entered or contaminated. So again, this is all new stuff that we just found out today. And again, this is even if it's real and accurate. We're just going based on an email and photos that people are saying. So I'm just
Absolutely.
commenting. Yeah, Rev and I are just we're just speaking about what we're being shown. We have no independent knowledge to this. So
Absolutely.
right, but based on what we're being shown and told, it's likely that this is Jen Soto's white four-door vehicle. I can't tell what year, make, and model of it from those photos. You can almost zoom in and get that tag number, but what you can do, as I noticed in your photo, is you can look at the numericals on the house. Couldn't read it 100%. Maybe you can zoom in on it, but then that would help us tell us what house that's located in, and if that is her sister's. But based on what we know or what we believe right now, based on, again, speculation of what this is, it appears to be Jen Soto's four-door white vehicle parked at what is said to be her sister's house, and with the evidence tape across the door jamb. Now, again, I can't see if that seal is broken, but I suspect, just based on what we're being told, is that she was given permission to re-enter that car. So that vehicle was searched, evidence was collected, photos were taken, whatever they were looking for regarding that vehicle either in regards to Madeline or other issues. That vehicle was seized, it was went through, and then it was returned to the registered owner. And the reason why the tape's still on there is because it's very, very firm, sticky tape that you can't just peel off. I don't know if anyone's ever gotten like a tow sticker on their car if you park 2 days or more somewhere. A lot of times the police or sheriffs will come by and they'll put a sticker on your car like abandoned vehicle. If you don't move it within 24 or 48 hours, we're going to tow it. Those stickers are like almost permanent. So the reason why you're still seeing it, again, speculation, the reason why you're still seeing it is it was released to her, so she was able to open the doors, but you can't just pull off that tape. You'd have to literally get like a razor blade and scratch it off, and then you'd be scratching your paint. So does that seem to piece that together a little bit?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else you can think of while you got me?
Yeah, there's tons of things. But I mean, it's regular shit. That'd be like social service questions because nobody will ever know, did mom see signs before? Was she abused before? I mean, that's like that's some professor shit.
Yeah, that's something almost nobody could ever know, and it's not 100% relevant to what happened, but it's extra information, to piece together certain things, but it wouldn't really help.
Now, I do have a question though that I just thought of as I sit here. Now, if somebody, or let's just say, okay, I don't know if you ever worked in. You said you were an officer, but I don't ever know if you investigated cases. But I'm just gonna throw this out there because maybe you would know this from somebody who's been through law enforcement. Now,
based on my training and experience, go ahead.
Right. If you guys had a case like this, or went and found somebody, and then you see them on the news, and you see them making inconsistent statements, what is the next step from there? Especially if they go, well, she's 100% not a suspect at this time, but now as of today, no comment. So what's going on with those interviews? What would you guys be thinking from law enforcement, and how would you approach that?
Right. So a couple of things real quick is you just reminded me that Sheriff Mina said she's not a suspect at this time. So that was another hint that we should have been thinking of her that day. And I forget which day, he did that press conference and said that. But that's a pretty huge clue. She's not a suspect, or she's not a suspect. And then he sort of paused at this time. That was critical the way he said that.
And that's something that I was like, man.
Right. Now, remember, here goes directly to the question, and just to use it as an example, remember, if you go before in a court of law and you're sworn in and you take the oath to, tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. If you were to lie and it was proven, that's a crime. Correct? Excuse my voice. Yeah. That would be a crime. If you swear in a court of law to tell the truth, or in front of Congress or the Senate, anything similar to that, and you lie and it's proven to be a lie, it's a crime. If you were to lie to the news anchor or the news, the news station, the broadcasters, the interviewers, if you were to lie to them, it's not a crime. Mm-hmm. So your question sort of has to be framed in the way of, okay, what they did, even if we say it's inconsistent and looks like apparent lies, it's not lies if you tell it to the news station. But the police, to your question, they're going to be looking at that and say, okay, we need to bring them back for a second interview, or now we know the questions we need to really direct on. We need to really focus on this. We need to focus on her or on him. So it gives them, that's why, again, it goes back to when I initially said, I believe, because remember, news stations and reporters and all of them, they have connections inside the police department. They get scoops all the time, right? I mean, think about it. That's how a lot of them get their information, is through, I got a scoop. So they are always in contact with the police department. They have friends. They could have been, their family could be on the job. So there's a lot of reasons why the police would request the the news to go out and interview. And that's why I said in the beginning, I believe that they were asked to go up. And again, we'd have to listen to that because they did bring it up. I don't know if it was Jen or I believe it was Jen. She said, well, we brought you in here to do this interview, something to that effect. Now, is that 100% accurate, or was it sort of a team effort where they showed up, knocked on the door and said, hey, would you guys like to do an interview? Yeah, sure, come on in. That could be her interpretation of, we asked you to come do the interview. So if anyone can find out who initiated the interviews, that would be helpful to us. And again, not helpful for the case, but just helpful for us to piece together the how and the why. And again, my suspicion is that they were put up to go to the house and do those interviews to catch these inconsistent statements, knowing initially that they were suspects. Remember, Stephan said, when they said, have you been out boots on the ground? Have you been looking for them? And he said, in his little crying voice, yeah, I even went out with the cops. Okay, you don't think that those initial responding officers who first met with him and asked him to help look for the daughter and what happened, you don't think they were a little suspicious initially? And that they would have said, listen, I know this guy is the alleged stepfather or boyfriend or whatever to this girl, but it seems like I don't know, something isn't right about him. So think about just the initial contact with Stephan, with the initial responding officer. Likely, if he's a good officer, and probably is, a deputy with the sheriff's department, he would have probably said to himself, something isn't right with this guy. He's not panicked enough. He's not saying the right things. Information isn't right. Something's not right with this guy. So that would have made him initially a person of interest, of course, without telling him.
Did you hear this? I got to read this off to you real quick. Okay. So this was WFTV. This was March 5th. They said Channel 9 learned Tuesday that the story of Jennifer Soto, the mother of 13-year-old Madeline Soto, which story she gave to law enforcement, does not line up with what investigators know. Now, right. They said they had sent an email, and how would they even get that much information to put that out? I have the reference. I have the article in front of me, and I'm looking at it. I mean, that's exactly what they started off. So how would they even get that answer out of law enforcement in the first? I feel like that's a lot to tell a news station for them to put out to all of us. And during an investigation, if they are investigating her, that's basically like tipping her off right there. If they're saying that,
right? Well, that again,
line up with what investigators know, right?
Right. Well, again, think about what that does to your person of interest. Now you get to see their response. Mm-hmm. Now you get to see what do they do next? What text do they send? What phone call do they make? Where do they go? Who do they talk to? So again, we only know what we're supposed to know.
Right.
So so them saying that her statement doesn't match, knowing she's at that time a free person, what is she going to do now? Mm-hmm. And will she come in to us and say, okay, let me change this, or I made this mistake, or I used this word instead of that word? And again, we don't know if that's happened or not, but that's sort of what I believe they would have used a statement like that for, to get her to do something or say something, to see what the next move is, that chess move. You move the pawn, you move the knight, whatever it is. You want to see what that next move is going to be. You keep them on a little bit of a leash to see what they do, and then you can make your moves.
Well, brother, I appreciate you calling in and filling us in. Great information from a law enforcement aspect, man. I appreciate that.
Well,
where you calling in from again?
Yeah. Rome from New York. I have the 843 number, but I go back and forth, Florida, South Carolina, and New York. So I do a little bit of everything there.
Well, shout out to you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. I'll call back in as this case progresses, and to all your listeners, be safe, lock your doors, like it said, and
man, stay vigilant, lock your doors.
We got to teach our kids, as hard as those conversations are, and what I would say is, even if you just write it down, I know it's hard to talk face to face maybe about these kind of things.
Right.
Just write a note or find a video. If you can find a kid's video that talks about safety against strangers and stuff, that's a little easier than, the parents sitting down and saying, listen, don't let someone touch your private parts. It is a harder conversation to have. But if you start at a younger age, then it's a little more, it's easier because it's, you can teach them from maybe the aspect of, open up an anatomy book, okay, and just show them like an anatomy of body parts and say, okay, this is it. Don't let someone touch this area. It just makes it a little more like, okay, a little more educational as opposed to embarrassing. Or, like I said, find a video and just walk out and say, hey, 10 minutes, I'm going to be over here, watch this video. And then at least something got into their brain, from 4 years old, 4 to 10 or something like that. That would be just a suggestion that may be helpful to your listeners. So
for sure. And we appreciate you, brother. Thank you for calling.
All right, brother. You got to be safe.
You too, brother. Lock up, man. Make sure you stay vigilant too.
Thank you, brother. Be cool.
Man, we appreciate him. Former law enforcement, Florida law enforcement on the phone, or former Florida law enforcement. I can't even speak. It sounds like we done lost an hour over here. You know what I mean? We done lost an hour, but I think it might be time for me to get off, to go hang out for a little bit. I need to go chill for a little bit, right? Shout out to everybody who came by the stream. I appreciate you guys. You already know, love and light. I appreciate the support. I appreciate everybody who was in the stream. Again, hit the like button. Make sure you smash that like button.